Welcome to section 4, Going Further with Elm. This section focuses on the set of techniques that you can employ to improve the code quality or the architecture of your application. In this section, we're going to take a look at encapsulation and code organization. I'm going to show you how you can manage messages with Tiger function, and we're going to talk about view rendering optimization. The first video is about encapsulation and code organization. In this video, we're going to take a look at using union types for encapsulation, and I'm going to introduce you to the concept of zipper or zip list, a custom data structure with constraints. A zip list essentially is represented by a union type with a single value. So in this specific case, this zip list can represent a data structure which cannot be empty. So essentially it's a list with at least one element. So as you can see here on the slide, the zip list is represented as a record with three fields: the previous, current, and rest. While the previous and rest are lists, and then they can be empty. The current is always supposed to have a specific value of type A. For the sake of simplicity, in this specific video, I'm going to use specific types. So we're going to have a trivia zip list, which will contain questions. And the idea of that data structure is to constrain our application on the type system level to have at least one question at every time when we are playing the game. So let's go ahead. I have created a new module in data folder. It's called trivia zip list. Currently it's represented as a type alias, type union type. And I'm going to go ahead and add the record part. So also we're going to need a question type. Okay, we have the question, and now we're going to go ahead and define a set of functions for working with this zip list. First, a function will be constructing a zip list out of a list. I'm going to call it from list. So it will accept list of questions and return trivia zip list. And for the implementation, list. And now we're going to pattern match on that list. Here is one of the advanced techniques of pattern matching on the lists. We can pattern match on a single element list. So if list contains only one element, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a trivia zip list with only one element, which is supposed to be in the current element. So X goes into the current, and the rest too will have empty lists there. So that's one case for arrays with one element. The other case is when we have a list and more than one elements. So we can say X : rest. That will pattern match and extract the rest as a list and X as a specific element. So here I can do a similar thing, but instead of rest, I'm gonna specify the list that I have matched there. And if list is empty, which is technically allowed in Elm, I'm going to crash the application because that's an impossible state. Always we're going to get at least one question or it's going to be an error. We cannot have a trivia without any questions. So that's the idea of this kind of constraints. So we can construct it from list, and I'm going to add a next method, which is going to be called next. It's going to accept a trivia zip list and return a trivia zip list. And what it will do is it's gonna step to the next question. So what I can do here is I can pattern match on this union type value here, trivia zip list, and I'm gonna have previous, current, and rest. And now, depending on the data in rest, if there is an empty list, then we're gonna do nothing. Just gonna return the same thing as we did in the situation when we had only one element. So current will stay current. And then in the situation when we actually have something, which is this x colon rest, then we need to do something a little special here. We're gonna say that we're gonna put current on the list with previous, and current will be our x, which we pattern match here, and the rest is, okay, just gonna move that a little bit. Okay, next is ready. For convenience, I'm gonna define the answer. So answer will accept the string because we represent answers as a strings. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna take a value, pattern match in the same way as we did here on trivia zip list, and it's gonna create a new one out of that. And what we need to do here is we're gonna preserve previous as previous, current, and current actually will change a little bit. And the rest is the same. Let's format that a little bit. So current is a record because that's a question. So we're gonna go ahead and allow us to specify user answer, just value. Okay, the answer we have, and we need a way to retrieve the current question from the trivia zip list. So this function will retrieve the zip list and return the question. And what I can do here is actually the same thing. Can I just pattern match on that in the function parameters and gonna return current. Okay, I have already imported that new module in the main. It's time to get busy and change the questions to trivia. And now we're gonna make it work with our new data structure with those secure type constraints, which allow us to have one question, at least one question at a time. So I have already exposed trivia zip list type from here. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. And now the application will crash. So we're gonna have to use maybe type because it's impossible to represent an empty state. We could have added another value to trivia zip list, but for now it's going to be easier for us to use maybe pipelines for applying changes to the zip list. So first we're going to represent it as nothing. Answer will no longer have an index here because we're going to have only one answer at a time. This is no longer needed because we don't use array anymore there. And let's go ahead and change the answer logic. So the trivia here, we want to pipe that into maybe map. And what we're gonna do is answer value And the last value is the actual trivia if it's there. In case if it's not there, it's actually data trivia zip list. Okay, data trivia zip list exposure. Yeah, that's that looks correct. And what I'm missing here is I have not exposed any of these. So well, I'm gonna go ahead and expose those. So I have from list, I have answer, I have next, and I have current. Okay, so let's go ahead and have a look what is broken again. Okay, I no longer need this part with the question, so I'm gonna remove that element from here and continue working. So what get questions no longer needs array from list. It's trivia and data trivia zip list from list questions, and that's wrapped into just because it's a maybe value that I can do. Okay, for now I'm not gonna have the submit and save logic, so I'm gonna comment that out and replace that with just dummy handler over here. So it's going to be model cmd.none. Okay, so we are no longer using the array over here. And yeah, I should get back to the answering logic. Yep, so this is used over here. So we want to maybe map into the next function. Next, so we answer and we go to the next answer, to the next question in the list. And what I want to do here is to maybe update the model with this new list. Supposed to be just, and I'm gonna use maybe with default model. Okay, we're back in business. Okay, what's the problem with the answer? String trivia zip list. Okay, this looks fine. And the problem here is in the view function that we are having. So it's no longer questions, it's trivia. And the next error is answer is causing a type mismatch on line 70. Let's have a look at that. So it's not the value, it's actually val. Yes. And now we're back. We can fetch questions, but now we are not displaying them. So let's go ahead and add that. So I'm gonna use case expression trivia off right here in the view. If it's just zip list, then I'm gonna do, well, I'm gonna define nothing line first. It's a normal thing to represent an empty element as a text without any text, because well, case is an expression, so it's always supposed to return something, so we need to have something here as an empty thing. So data trivia zip list current, so we're gonna get the current element, and I want to render it, so I'm gonna use view question view. I'm gonna pass the current zip list, and the answer will be answer. And here I'm changing the order of those arguments because answer is a function that will create an answer or will tag a value with an answer tag. So not to make compiler think that I'm passing the current question into answer, I'm gonna switch the order here, and I'm gonna have to switch the order of those parameters in the function as well to make it simpler for later. Everything correctly. I'm missing HTTPS here. Cannot find variable trivia current. Oh yeah, it's lowercase. Okay, we're back, and well, I'm getting the question, and I can step through to different to other answers and questions.